Hey everyone. I'm going to try really hard to keep this quick today, but I wanted to talk to you about something that's really close to me in my healing journey, and that is interstitial cystitis. So, when I was first diagnosed, or what I like to call thrown in the IC garbage can, I was told that interstitial cystitis is very rare. So, fast forward almost a decade, and it seems like every second one of my friends has also been diagnosed with this very rare condition. So, what the heck is going on here? Is there more bladder pain happening now than ever before? And if so, what in the world could be the cause of this massive explosion of bladder related illness? I don't know about you, but I definitely have my suspicions on that one. But before I start to go into all of that, my name is Michelle Burbage. I'm an integrative healing practitioner and author of the Perception Connection Method of Inner Child Work and Deep Subconscious Reprogramming. And my mission is to help people transform the way they experience the world through functional lab testing, whole food diet swaps, natural supplements, and mindset shifts. And I want to make it clear that I am not a doctor, and any information that I share with you today is my opinion. It is for educational purposes only, and you should always discuss any changes to your diet, supplement, or lifestyle with your healthcare team prior to making any changes. Okay, so today we're looking at interstitial cystitis, and this is really interesting. Since I was diagnosed, the definition of IC has changed quite a bit, and that's not all that uncommon. We often see descriptions of pathology shift over time as new information becomes available and more data is amassed. But the really interesting thing about this is that we seem to be shifting backwards. And what I mean by that is that we often see a progression from wide to narrow. As we get to know more about a particular illness, it branches off into sub areas and new diagnoses separate from the umbrella. But with IC, we see the opposite happening more and more. Very diverse symptoms are all being grouped together and tossed into what I call the IC garbage can. And what I mean by that is that anything that presents like it could be a run-of-the-mill UTI, but cannot be cleared up by antibiotics, or the results of testing are coming back as subclinical on a wildly outdated Petri dish test. All of those results are tossed in the garbage can with all of the other IC sufferers. So basically, what the doctors are saying is, well, we can't prescribe you anything, so you have interstitial cystitis. There you go, just live with it. And most of the time, this is happening without any further testing. It used to be we would do a cystoscopy, and that's not happening anymore. A lot of the time, we're getting diagnosis based just symptomatically. And so too many of us have heard from our team of specialists that, this is what it is. There's no cure or treatment beyond a few Band-Aids that they would offer us, which have a relatively high chance of making matters worse. And all of us have heard that we just have to learn to live with the pain, and it's sometimes debilitating pain and discomfort. And I remember when my doctor first told me, completely deadpan, with no emotion whatsoever, that I was going to have to live the rest of my life with what felt to me like a massive, horrendous UTI. And she said it as if she was telling me that, I should stop at the grocery store on my way home and pick up some carrots. It was unbelievable. It was outrageous, in fact. But I'm not telling you this to outrage you, because if you're watching this, I'm sure that you've been there too. And in the big scheme of things, it wasn't her fault anyway. The system that she works within is the way that it is, and she only knows what they tell her to know. So I guess, she's doing her best. But I can tell you from a boatload of experience with myself and others that I've seen heal over the last decade, and even others that I've helped to heal myself, this is absolutely not a life sentence. We can make this far better when we start looking at the root causes. And I know that for me and many others, this is not what we call remission. We just no longer live thinking about our bladders anymore. It's just no longer a thing for us. So let's look at the new definition of interstitial cystitis, or what they're now expanding to call bladder pain syndrome, because it's that widespread now that it actually needs a wider title. So interstitial cystitis is a chronic condition that causes bladder pressure, bladder pain, urgency, with often just tiny amounts of urine produced, sometimes pelvic pain. For me, it was severe urethral burning, spasms. Most sufferers experience pain during intercourse. We experience flare-ups from certain foods. We experience a high level of anxiety for the most part. And the pain can range from mild discomfort to severe. And symptoms can vary among individuals and even fluctuate in intensity in the same person over time and circumstances. So the exact cause of interstitial cystitis involves a whole host of root causes. Doctors and so-called specialists will all say that it's defects in the bladder and that it's mostly unknown, but we do know now that the cause is most often a combination of autoimmune response, embedded infection, inflammation, and this can be exacerbated by things like ammonia and oxalates and overuse of popular UTI antibiotics and so on. So the question now is, how do we heal this? What do we do? Well, if you listen to the common wisdom from the allopathic community, nothing. IC cannot be healed. Of course, we know now that that's not true because, as I've said before, my colleagues and I are watching people heal from this every single day. So that's not a thing anymore. So how are we doing this? And that's a great question. I want to jump right into that. Most people who are suffering with IC are looking for the quick fix, though. So the first thing I want to say is that a supplement, a test that gets right to the bladder, for those people, if that's what you're looking for, I don't have great news. The bladder is the last line of elimination. And so what we need to do in order to heal the bladder is heal all of the other bits that come ahead of it before we're going to start healing the lining of the bladder and the inflammation. So right off the bat, I'm going to stress that the way we work through this is a long game. And if you know me at all, you know that I advocate for a whole body approach that starts way back with brain chemicals called neurotransmitters. We also use genetics and mindset work. That is where I start with all of my clients. And this is a really good thing because a huge part of the suffering that you're experiencing right now is happening from stress and resistance. So when we can lower that, when we can help you find your calm center, then we're able to slash through a big chunk of the suffering before we even start to heal your body and your bladder. And this happened to me, and it happens with almost everyone who follows this path. So this is actually really great news. So the first things that we look at, again, are genetics and organic acids. Genetics tells us what your body is predisposed for. That's your genetic blueprint. We can see, we used to call them mutations, we now call them variations. We get a sense of what is it that you could potentially be up against. When we look at your organic acids, what we're seeing is what you're actually displaying in your body. So it will give us your neurotransmitter metabolites. That will tell us how you're metabolizing, how you're processing your neurotransmitters. It will tell us information about yeast and bacteria and potentially mold. So if you're dealing with any of those things, then we can get a good picture of what's happening there. It will also tell us how you're processing your food, what's happening with your mitochondria, what macronutrients like protein, fat, and carbs are best for you, and how you're processing the others so that we can support that. We want to support all of those body processes. We can also get information from genetics and organic acids about how you detox. And again, if you've been with me this far, detox is incredibly important. We have to make sure that those pathways are open and ready to release the toxins before we get into the heavy lifting. So when we get into gut work or even microgen. Okay, so in addition to genetics and organic acids, we're also going to be looking at your blood work at this stage. We are looking for inflammation. We want a full iron panel. Information again about how you detox. So it's important to clear up this area because if you're not detoxing properly, once again, the toxins are going to try to escape any way that they can. We're also looking at information about your immune system and so much more. And this information tells us so much about the high level stuff that you're dealing with so that we can get in there and with a few tweaks, we can get you feeling a lot better really fast. And this part of my program is called the foundation. And this is what starts to rebuild and rebalance your body so that you are in a stronger state when we eventually have to look at gut bugs. And again, like I said, that's where the real work begins. So before that, there is another really important test, and that is called a Dutch. And that is a dried urine test that shows us all of the information we need to know about your cortisol, which is your main stress hormone, your sex hormones. And the reason that this test is so great is that it looks not just at the levels of hormones, but also the metabolites, or how the hormones are being processed through your system, how they're being broken down. And this is very important information, once again, so that we can get an accurate picture of what role your hormones are playing in your bladder issues, especially if you're noticing that your bladder flares up a lot around your period. That is almost always going to be hormone related in some way. And then we can get in there, and when we find those healing opportunities, we can correct those gaps. And slowly, little by little, it all adds up to bring your body back into a state of health. And this is really important to understand. It is not one thing that will magically be the cure. It is a series of tiny little shifts that are specific to you and your body. And these are the things that are going to make the difference. These are the things that are going to heal you. Okay, so after we get to the Dutch, we're going to do a few flushes, and when you're feeling strong enough, we're going to do some gentle liver detox, and then we're going to get into the heavy lifting, and that is gut work. So these tests, GI Map and Parawellness, they are going to show us valuable information about the kinds of protozoa and parasites and bacteria and other bugs that are taking up valuable real estate in your gut and making it hard for you to feel your best. So by this stage, most of my clients are feeling a lot better. And it's actually, they're feeling so much better that it's almost to the point that a lot of my clients don't even finish their gut work because they're like, I'm healed now and I don't need to go on any further. But I urge you not to do that. We want you to get to a place of optimal well-being. And the way that we really get your body back into true health is making sure that we go the whole way, eliminating as much dysbiosis as we can along the way. So then the last thing that we're going to look at is Microgen DX. And a lot of sufferers, like I said, want to go straight for this test because it seems like the most expedient way to heal your bladder. And hopefully by this stage, you'll already understand why that's not a good idea. If you've been suffering for a while with autoimmune conditions, then your body is weak. It is very clear that it is weak. So the last thing that we want to do is get in there trying to kill off bugs when we don't have the capacity to fight. Your body needs to be in the best possible place in order to have the best chance of success. This is just how it is. I can tell you that I see in IC groups over and over and over again, women showing up with these microgen tests as their first line of action because they are naturopath heard that this is what we do. But even after 2 and 3 courses of treatment, they still have symptoms. And that's because your body is smart. And it is not going to release toxins when your detox pathways are blocked, because where are those toxins even going to go? It's one of the reasons that it's also hard for us to lose weight when our detox pathways are blocked, because our bodies know that we're not equipped to process the toxins that's going to be released. So we do the preliminary work first, and then most of the time by the end, we won't even need the microgen because the biofilm busters that we use for gut work will have eradicated the bugs in our bladder as well as our gut. So sometimes we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And I'm going to explain biofilms in another video. I also didn't touch too much on ammonia and oxalates in this video, but I really wanted to get to the heart of how we heal IC. And this is the exact path that we use. It's involved, yes. There are a lot of steps. You probably won't be able to do this all on your own. You need to enlist your practitioner. This is a commitment. And this is why doctors don't do what we do, because for the most part, most people won't commit to doing this work. And to be honest, doctors don't have time to mess with people who aren't committed. It's easier for them to just write a prescription and give it to someone, and there's a better chance of success with them going and filling the prescription and taking it. Now, when we're not talking about success for healing, we're talking about success for band-aiding, because most people won't commit to the tests. They won't commit to the lifestyle changes. They won't commit to a very strict and sometimes intense supplement regimen. And so if you're not ready for that, then this level of healing probably isn't for you. And the other reason that doctors don't do this is because they have absolutely no idea how to do this work. If you ask them about a Dutch, they're not even going to know what you mean, and they're probably not going to care. But that's a completely different topic. So thanks so much for joining today. I hope this was helpful to you. In summary, ask your practitioner to run genetics, organic acids, a full blood panel with complete thyroid, and that is 8 tests altogether, not 2. You're going to want to ask them to run a Dutch test, a GI map, and in the end, a Parawellness. And if they do not know how to run these tests, if they don't know why you need them, or if they don't know how to correlate the results of each test with each other test to make sure that you're on the proper protocol for your individual results, then please feel free to reach out. I am happy to consult with you and see if we might be a good fit to work together. Thanks so much for watching today, and I hope to see you again next time.